Once you've made the decision to take out your lawn and replace it with a beautiful, water-wise, ocean-friendly or native garden, how do you actually go about removing the turf and ensuring that those pesky weeds don't come back? City of Ventura specialist Jill Sarek is going to show us a process known as sheet mulching, a non-dig gardening technique that nurtures the soil and suppresses weeds.
This is a small patch of a city property. It's about 800 square feet. And on Wednesday we came in with a sod remover, a sod cutter, and we were able to mechanically remove the turf. And we recommend you do this. It costs about $70 a day to rent one from Ventura Rentals. You can also hand remove the turf using shovels and pickaxes, but it's a lot of work. Mechanically removing the turf, there's a machine that actually comes in and cuts the vegetation at the root right at the base of the soil. And it makes it very easy for you to remove the sod and roll it up. What you're gonna do then with the sod is you'll roll that up and you have a couple of options for disposal. You can stack it in your driveway, and every week when it's time for your yard waste pickup, you can fill your bin only halfway. You don't want to fill it up all the way because it's too heavy for the truck to pick it up. And you want to make sure that you don't get a lot of soil with it. You want to just get the vegetation part, the green waste. It's going in your green waste bin, and they'll take it to the Agriment site and it will be composted. Or you can haul it directly to either Gold Coast Recycling or Agriment, and you'd pay a small self-haul fee, whatever it is based on weight. So that's how you get rid of the turf. Once you have your turf removed, you're gonna have this bare area of soil. And depending on the condition of your soil, if you feel like it's necessary, you might also want to consider renting an aerator, which again, you can get from Ventura Rentals. They're relatively easy to operate, kind of like a large lawnmower. And they're about $70 a day as well to rent. And it will punch holes into your soil so that you can, what we're trying to do is add oxygen, water, and life into the soil. Because the soil's been sitting here, it's been compacted. So by breaking up the soil, you're putting space in there for the oxygen to get in, and then eventually we're gonna add some water, and then the life is the compost that we're gonna add. So this is part of a sheet mulching technique that we've been trying to demonstrate to folks. So essentially, after you've aerated the area, you're gonna spread a thin layer of compost. Now this compost came from Agriment, so it's kind of closing the loop. It's great. It's actually coming from our yard waste that we just recycled, and they've composted on an industrial scale, and now you're reapplying it back into your landscape. And this compost is a rich addition to the soil. It will help rebuild the soil and bring back some life into this soil. So for the compost that we're applying, we ordered a load from Agriment and they delivered. And that would run you around between $75 to $150, depending on whether you get it from Agriment or Green Thumb. There's local supply houses. You can also go to a landscape or gardening center and get the bags. You just have to calculate how many cubic yards that you need to apply. And in this case, for this 800 square feet, we are using about 4 cubic yards.
You can also make your own compost at home using food waste scraps, yard waste. You can make your own compost teas, and we have educational videos on our YouTube site that will help you figure that out.
And then you can take cardboard or newspaper, or there's painter's paper that you can get, like craft paper from the local hardware store as well, or Lowe's or any one of those places, and they sell 4-foot rolls of this brown craft painter's paper, and it usually runs about $5 to $7 a roll. This is gonna help with the solarizing and creating a layer so that the sun can't come in here and help these weed seeds that are gonna be left over germinate. So you wanna make sure that you overlap your cardboard really well. And when you get to the edges where you're hitting hardscape like concrete, you want to make sure that you're able to tuck that down against the hardscape, the concrete, as much as possible. And then you're just going to layer that with a layer of mulch. And you want the mulch to be about 3 inches at depth. And then you're going to water it heavily, and you're going to let it sit for a while, about a month. And what's going to happen is this whole area, all of the weeds and the turf that's left over is going to turn into a nice, hardy, rich garden soil that you're able to plant in.
Even though we're using the sheet mulching technique with the intention of preventing regrowth of the turf or the weeds, it's important to know that there will be regrowth, there will be reemergence of weeds, especially in the first year. So it's important to go back out and weed those little seedlings early on. It's just a natural consequence of doing this process naturally rather than using chemicals.
So the rest of this project is going to be run primarily by volunteer labor. We'll have volunteers in here helping to remove the rest of this turf and laying down the compost. And then we'll have another group of volunteers come in and do the sheet mulching that I just demonstrated. We will be planting directly into the sheet mulch. You can do that. You can choose to let your sheet mulch sit for a while, or you can choose to directly plant right into the sheet mulch. You just have to, dig through that cardboard or paper or whatever that you've applied down. And then, like we mentioned, give it a very good water and soak. So what we're going to plant here, we've chosen a plant palette that's a mix of California natives and climate appropriate plants that are adapted to our climate. So for this 800 square foot patch, we chose about 30 1-gallon plants and 2 5-gallon plants. And plus we're also putting in a small rock-lined dry creek bed with some boulders. All of this is about the max that you're going to be able to plant this out at, because what ends up happening a lot of times, people when they put in a new landscape, they think this tiny little plant isn't ever going to get big. So we really want to be demonstrating how big are these plants going to get. Some of the plants that we've chosen for this area are different types of succulents like aloes and sedums, mixed with some natives like a California Freemont, buckwheats that are actually native to the Southern California region right here, and some other flowering plants like California poppies and sundrops that do really well in this climate and are going to give a great show of color pretty much year-round. The rock that we got for our creek bed, that is also being delivered. A minimum delivery is 10 tons, and that's probably more than the average yard might need. We are getting a mix of 1 to 2 foot boulders with about 6 to 8 inch size cobbles. And again, 10 tons is running us about $900. There's other options to get rocks in different places. You can contact local supply warehouses and landscaping places. And you can also look sometimes on Craigslist. People from their farms in different areas are getting rid of boulders for either really cheap or for free. And then the last major cost on this is the mulch. We again got the mulch delivered from the city for free, but they don't deliver to private residences. You can go to Cornucopia Garden and get the mulch for free if you have a truck or if you have a means for getting that mulch to your project site. Otherwise, again, a lot of the local places, Agerman and Green Thumb, will deliver it, and it's usually running around about $75 to $100 or so a load delivered. So again, for this size site, we asked for 7 yards because you want to have at least 3 inches of mulch at the depth, and so we needed about 7 yards to cover this particular site.
To find out more about the official California yard, visit sustainableventura.tv and search the official California yard. Sustainableventura.tv for a better tomorrow.